Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. Beautiful week. Fall continues to move forward. Going to start getting chilly, but that's just part of this big globe circling around the sun. That brightest star, Third Rock from the Sun. Great show. I forgot all about that. Just thought of it right now. Welcome to episode 54. Hey, remember to email us any content ideas, any feedback to Dr. Dr. leadership.results@gmail.com. And also we can be reached via the website. You can send content ideas. You can give us feedback. You can check out other items and other offerings in our book of what we can do for you right there. And also you can join the membership site to get early access to episodes and these great interviews that we have on the Leadership Lounge, Dr. Leadership Lounge content. And that can be found at www.drleadershipresults.com. That's the website. Picture of me, some of my background. Probably need to upgrade the picture. It's starting to look like a realtor's picture, where it's a few years old, a little grayer than I used to be. And I need to I'll probably update that. But it's hard to shine up this old penny. That was a pretty good picture, so I went with it. Last week, we talked about Are You Admired? And the different perspective to look from, the lens of self-reflection. And some of us may not have liked the answer after some of that self-reflection. I know that there have been times in my life when things have been pointed out that I don't have it all figured out or going on right by others, and it ticked me off. And then a few months later, I'm sitting there and I go, they really had a point. When you drop the ego and you get through it, many times feedback is awesome. And remember, feedback is a gift if you choose to accept it, right? Others' viewpoints about what you are coming across as are critical in life. How did you feel last week after listening? Good? Bad? Indifferent? Not me? Didn't pertain to me? I got it all figured out. Refer to the second statement about narcissism. I'm perfect. Just ask me. That's one thing. When you have especially like bipolar narcissists, they're always doing great. Just ask them. I love that joke. If you didn't feel great about last week, it might be time to take a deep breath and understand that leading change may need to begin with changing yourself. This world is constantly coming at us, and leading through it or living through it may need to begin with changing yourself or ourselves. Harvard Business Review has a great article by Narayan Pant, and it has the same name. It penned the idea of how to. Last week I talked about how we come to pathways, and I go down the path for a few weeks, try to tie some things together, and this felt like a good closing concept on this path. Then we'll get back on the main path, and I'll figure a new direction out. Haven't figured that part out yet. But HBR, Harvard Business Review, which I use often for inspiration, Narayan Pant wrote an article, Leading Change May Need to Begin with Changing Yourself. Now, behavior change is hard. I'm going to come back to this statement. This will be part of my big close. Behavior change is hard, but it is a skill that leaders of all concepts of life who want to succeed amid near constant organizational life change need to develop. In other words, you better get good at this because it's something that is used all the time and forevermore. It just is. You don't get to shut this one off. We have to be able to pivot in life, right? You have to be able to change directions. You have to be able to change the tack of the ship. We have to be able to pivot in life. Many of us look at ourselves as a fixed being, meaning that we are what we are. This isn't true. We all can change and adapt. Everybody has the capacity to learn. Everybody has the capacity to redirect and change. How Narayan makes a good point here is that we should rely on what the point is this. We should rely on what got us to where we are, especially if it's been successful. So not saying don't be what you are, keep the good aspects. However, change is going to be required as life comes at us. Riding the horse we came in on only gets us so far in life, right? Dance with the one that brought you, but also you have to be able to figure out some new steps on the dance floor of life. You got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to pivot. Now, changing our personal behaviors is a process. It doesn't just, and it's done. It takes time and it takes process. And if you're tasked with leading a change or have chosen yourself to drive a change, we have to look in the mirror first to ensure we're capable of making the changes happen, to ensure we're successful in driving the change. The HBR, Harvard Business Review perspective is that there's 4 steps to follow, and I liked them. I'm going to use them as kind of my headers here. That this behavior changes and driving change is a process. And the first step that they talk about is we need to increase our self-awareness. This goes back to how our behaviors are perceived by others. Last week's episode. See the tie-in. Isn't that awesome? Old saying, a customer's perception is our reality. That's true. A neighbor's perception of you in the neighborhood is their reality. That's the reality from their standpoint you got to deal with. So is their reality what you want it to be? As a leader, we need to seek feedback in good times and in bad times. In life, not just leaders, and I'm not talking just business here, but in leading through our life, going through our life, we need to seek feedback. Sometimes when things are good, we take the results for granted. We just think, hey, I've got this shit in autopilot, man. There's never going to be an issue. But things change really fast, especially today. I mean, it's exponential of what it used to be. Success can hide your blind spots. I used to always say that, I still say this. When a sales team is really humming, and I'm talking to the director or the leader or the manager, and she goes, man, it's really friggin' humming. We got it all going on. I say this, revenue hides sins. You can insert another word here. Results hide sins. Orders hide sins. And what I mean by that is that when you start peeling the onion back on the results, there's spots or opportunities for behavioral change that'll drive improvement in anything in life. I can remember having a conversation with a major account director in Charlotte, North Carolina. Team was humming, man. When you looked at the stack rankings, I mean, he had like this is back in the day, $700,000-$800,000 a month budget. They were throwing up like $900,000 a month. He's coming into his one-on-one or our RAP review and plan session. That's what RAP stands for. We're sitting there and he goes, man, team is rocking. And I had the results down another layer. I said, you really think so? And he was taken aback. He's like, oh, I'm 130% of plan, man. I said, oh, hey, to be commended. The overall results are great. What if somebody gets hurt? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, according to what I'm looking at, one player's scoring 80% of the points. What happens if that player gets hurt, leaves the company, moves, goes through a tough time, customer decides to not do business with anymore, RFP comes out, we don't win, new decision maker? What happens if that player gets hurt? And you saw these deer in the headlight eyes like, oh, crap. And I'm like, now I don't want you to go out of here dejected. What I want you to go out of here is informed, motivated to ensure that you got a backup in place. First of all, you evidently got some C players, you got a couple B players, then you got an A+ player. What are we doing with the C's to make them B's, the B's to make them A's, and to maintain the performance, of the A+ player? You have to change quickly. You have to plan for the best, hope for the best, drive for the best, but prepare for the worst. Look internally and make sure you are good to go first. So as an individual, make sure you got your stuff together. Things may be going well. The teams I'm responsible for having a pretty good year. The teams I was responsible for last year had a great year. Guess what? I was asked to take on new attributes this year. I got struggles. 0 to 0, man. New fiscal year. New things in life come at you. Maybe it's about your kids. Hey, they won the big game last week. Guess what? New bigger team coming into town. Look at the University of Colorado football team as an example. 3-0. Everybody thinks the world has changed, man. Deion is now the center of the universe. Welcome to Oregon. Wham. Sorry, my stomach's grabbling here. And I guarantee this high-end microphone picked that up. I'm hungry for improvement. So you have to be prepared for the worst, right? Step 2 they talk about is make commitments. The old saying that the most powerful driver of change is a mirror. And I love that statement. This assumes you're self-reflecting. I added that part. What it means is, what I mean by it, yeah, a mirror is a great motivator if you're taking what the reflection is truly telling you. Don't just look at it and go, I'm awesome. You are. We'll talk about that at the end, like we always do. But also you have to reflect and go, where can I improve? But by deciding you do see that changes are necessary, the next step is making commitments. This helps you to stay with the plan since you've committed to others, man. Success is more likely. A commitment may make you take a second of pause before you revert back to old habits, before you face a challenge or a tough spot. By giving that commitment, it keeps you on track. When I was stopping drinking, I had a counselor engaged. I got a counselor and I met with him online. I just did it 4 times because I'm a pretty strong-willed guy. I'd made up my mind that I was going to do this for the benefit of my life and my marriage and my happiness and my long-term success. But I made a commitment to somebody else. That made sure that every other week, man, I knew I wasn't going to let myself down, let alone let down the gentleman that was helping me through that. Personal endeavor there. A little personal exposure. I'm vulnerable to it. Why? Because I self-reflected. I don't like this me. It wasn't good. And I gave a commitment to somebody else to keep me on track. That may be what you have to do to drive personal change. Give commitments to others. Somebody that's really important to you. The third step they talked about in the HBR article is to overcome interference. And I wouldn't have probably called it this, but don't let thoughts, what it really boils down to is don't let thoughts of the past ways interfere with your new intent. So to change, how do I say this? To change requires you control the noise in your own head. The 6 inches between your own ears are the biggest struggle you're ever going to face in your life. That's where self-doubt comes in. That's where overconfidence comes in. That's where lack of clarity comes in. That's where insecurities come in. Controlling that orb, that several pounds on top of your shoulders, is the biggest thing to learn to do in life. So you got to control the noise. You got to visualize calm. You got to return your focus. That's what they mean by overcome interference. Don't let the outside noise distract you from the long-term goal you've set to yourself to change. Use ideas from last week's episode on empathy and listening as an example. Put yourself in other shoes. Be a better listener to help you drive these personal changes. All this stuff ties together, right? But interference will come at you in many, many, many ways. We as people like the easiest route. It's natural for us to not want to have to handle hard better. But you have to handle hard better. And one of the hardest things you're ever going to do is to drive personal change. Because it's really hard. Habits are made. Habits have to be broken. To drive incremental improvement in your personal life, your business life, your community giving, everything that is important to you or that you say is important to you requires commitment. You got to keep the interference out of the 6 inches between your ears. The last thing they talked about change requires is lots of practice. And I talk about this a lot. Once you get something, you ain't got it forever, man. You don't practice to make perfect. You don't practice until you get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong. You have to stay focused for long periods of time. Execution does not come right away. Anything new requires repetition. So start small, take little steps. Don't flip the whole card over at once. It's going to be hard. It's going to take time. Think of sports and athletes. They didn't just pop up one day and can jam three-pointers. LeBron James wasn't born able to dunk the basketball. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. Talked about it 2 weeks ago. Change is hard, so you start small, and then you have to continuously repeat that change until it becomes your habit. If you're an asshole, you don't have good followership, you struggle at listening, you aren't humble, you don't have empathy, you don't just get to hop up in the morning and say, yeah, I'm now good at all those. It's going to take repetition, time, perseverance, dedication. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Do the hokey pokey. It's going to take time and practice and repetition and falling and hitting your chin and getting back up and falling and hitting your chin and getting back up. All these things, anything great in life does not come easy. Great coffee cup up in my counter. I didn't say it'd be easy. I said it'd be worth it. So if you really want to progress in anything in life, personal endeavors, you want to be a better parent, you got to practice being a better parent. I'm not talking about a likable parent. I'm talking about a good parent. Being tough when you got to be tough. Being loving when you got to be loving. Pushing. Not giving in. Being strong. Being a great and an admired person. Being a good neighbor doesn't come easy. Sometimes what your neighbor does is just god-awful. Why would they paint the house that color? It's their house, man. They get to paint it whatever color they want. Doesn't make them a bad neighbor. So be a good neighbor. Somebody next door needs help, give them a hand. My neighbors, and my wife and I, so fortunate. Home run on neighbors. It's been great. Hasn't taken a lot of practice with this group because a lot of older folks, I'm counting myself here in that age bracket when I say it, been through a lot. Very strong leaders in everything they've done, surrounded by some incredible people that also have moments where you go, wish they wouldn't have done that. So it never ends. I don't have this all figured out. I've talked about this for the last year. We're right at a year. Episode 52 a couple days ago, right? Or a couple weeks ago. A year we've been doing this together. I'm just getting warmed up. I hope you are too. On the podcast, on the show. I hope you're sharing it with others. All I'm trying to do here is to really help myself and share my journey. I'm talking to myself today. I'm self-reflecting today. I'm trying to drive change every single day. I've got new endeavors that I still don't have figured out. I've got people on my teams that don't admire me yet because they're new to me. I'm new to them. I'm new to the responsibility. I'm going to be 56 years old. You would think, oh, there's nothing he hasn't seen. There's a shit ton I haven't seen. I don't even know what's coming at me yet. How can I have seen it? I can't see the future, but I can reflect on the past. I can take the experiences that I've had, learn from them, make tweaks in my approach, adjust and be admirable to others, handle change myself, be self-reflecting, and be better. Because what comes out of better is advancement, is improvement, is an incredible journey that you can stay on because it becomes this mojo, this juice that thrives and drives your system. Be humble, show humility, be a great listener, have a positive attitude, be driven, be willing to help, be a great teammate, be awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.